mine though, because it just feels like we always have our own house when the other is gone. This happened a couple months back, but it still terrifies me. I got home from work around 4 one day and went out with some friends before getting back home. By 10 my brother had already left for work, so it was just me. I had work in the morning though, so I didn't have much time to relax before bed. I packed my lunch for tomorrow, then chilled on the couch for just 15 or so minutes, then got in bed being pretty tired. I was knocked out in a couple minutes. A few hours later I woke up, seeing it was 2:30 in the morning. I put my head back on the pillow and closed my eyes, but then I heard my brother coming through the front door. It was way too early for him to be off, but it was around his lunchtime, so I figured he forgot his lunch or something and I dozed off a minute later. The next day I woke up and got ready for work. I got my bag together, went to the fridge to get my lunch that I packed yesterday, but it was gone right away. I realized my brother had probably taken it last night by accident. I left for work and during my lunch I just picked up some fast food. When I got back home that day, my brother wasn't home. I wanted to let him know not to take any of the food from the bottom drawer, because that was my lunch stuff. I spent an hour cleaning up the kitchen and making tomorrow's lunch, then took a nap on the couch. When I got up around 8, I could tell that my brother had been back at some point, but had left for work already. I heated up some leftovers for dinner, then watched a movie in my room to kill the time. I fell asleep around my usual time, but woke up again in the middle of the night. The time was just before 3, and I heard the front door close as my brother walked into the house. I tiredly grabbed my phone from the nightstand and texted him to not take my food. I was too lazy to get up and talk because I knew I'd have trouble falling back asleep if I did. I got a text back a few seconds later, but it was just a question mark, like he didn't know what I was saying. I didn't want to explain the whole thing over text if he was going to play dumb, so I slowly got out of bed, then walked over to the door. I opened it and went into the kitchen, but he wasn't there. I then walked out into the living room and in one of our chairs was a random man wearing ragged clothes and had a crazed look in his eyes. I was standing there, frozen from the shock. On the table in front of him was a bunch of food from our fridge and pantry. The man got up quickly and that's when I saw him holding something in his hand. I turned around and ran for the front door, but I didn't hear him follow me out. I stood at the end of the driveway and for some reason called my brother first. I explained the whole thing and he told me to call the police right away. During my freak out over the phone, I saw the man appear in the front doorway and then slam the door shut as if he were keeping me out of my own house. The police came and the man was still there, waving a knife around and telling them to leave his home. They were able to detain him after a few minutes, but I watched them drag him into the car and I could say for sure that this man was completely psycho. Apparently, he never planned on leaving the house that time and said it was his house. Now how the man got a key to our house is still unknown, but we made sure to change the locks on the doors soon after. It's pretty easy to assume what he planned to do with that knife, but he probably thought my brother was the only one living there, which was why he entered in the middle of the night. If I hadn't woken up and seen him, my brother probably would have been attacked as soon as he walked through the door after work, and I likely would have suffered the same fate in the morning. I was house sitting for one of my best friends last year. They had a few lizards and some fish that I had to feed, along with a bunch of houseplants to water. They were on a 2-week-long business trip, so I agreed to take care of everything while they were away. Their house was a lot nicer than my apartment too, so I was glad to do it. The first week went by and it was great. It felt kind of like being in an Airbnb. But then one night while sitting at the table in the kitchen,